Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. We record these interviews so potential buyers have more information about the seller and the business to help them make a buying decision. Now, before we dive in, let's go over a brief summary of this business. It's a display advertising, affiliate, and Amazon Associates business created in March of 2019 in the home and real estate niches. The average monthly revenue for the business is $19,987 and makes an average of $15,923 per month in net profit. The assets included in the sale are the primary domain and all site content and files, social media accounts and pages, which include Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest, and a trademark. So for everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 64880 to learn more about the business, or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So that's a brief overview of the business for sale. Let's hear from the seller with me today. So welcome to the show, Andrew. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well as well. Thank you. Well, I'm looking forward to learning more about you and your business. So to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Sure. So I actually run a portfolio, mainly sites monetized through display ads. And this was my first site, and I now have 4 total.
Nice. So this was the first business that you got into, and now you're at the point of being able to exit it.
Yes, and I have learned a lot along the way.
That's awesome. And that was pretty quick as well. You got into this business in 2019. So why are you deciding to sell the business now at this point instead of keeping it and growing it further?
So as I've said, I have a few other sites that are a little bigger than this one. So I'm just looking to take some money off the table and just focus my efforts on the opportunities that the bigger sites have.
Sure. And I was looking at some of the traffic and the revenue data from this business, and it's just continuously and steadily increasing over time, which is great to see. So what did you learn from building this business that worked that you think contributed to that success?
One of the main benefits to this site is that it has a very strong link profile. I spent the first year of the business not doing too much content, and I mainly just built links. So probably the biggest thing that worked with this site was pitching HARO. So I'm sure most of the listeners are familiar with HARO, but it's a service that pairs reporters with experts. And so I've talked about everything from home improvement topics to buying a house to tips for agents. And I think that focus has really created the engine in which the content ranks. So that combined with scaling production of content last year really has caused the traffic to increase and just be really steady because it weathers Google updates because of the strong link profile.
Yeah. And that's an interesting strategy. I mean, I guess maybe interesting is not the right word, but your strategy reminds me of, I forgot what that story was about. If you give me 10 hours to cut down a tree, I'll spend like the first 9 hours or something sharpening the axe as opposed to hacking at it. And it sounds like you've really focused on setting the foundation for this site, because I think there's this temptation to, right when you get into a site, to go full on into content production and you can't let off the gas with that. But it seems like you've really set up a strong foundation for this site before then adding on additional content on top of that.
Yes, that's exactly what my goal was. And I knew it would be a couple of years of not making any money on it, but I didn't want to sacrifice the long-term prospects for just some quick best X for Y affiliate content.
I can definitely tell like this trajectory is continuously going upwards. But was there anything you tried with this business that didn't work out as well?
I did try some best X for Y articles just to round out the monetization so it wouldn't all be info content.
Yep.
And that's pretty competitive because most of the links are homepage links. I wasn't able to direct that link equity directly to those money pages. That may be an opportunity for someone who knows about that. Like I said, my main focus has just been info content because that attracts links naturally. I did try some pay-per-click ads when I first started, and I would drive Facebook and Google ads to some landing pages that I set up. Those did convert, but the cost of ads was just way higher than the revenue I brought in. So those were the two things that I tried that didn't work. I guess something else comes to mind that this was my first site. And so I went after very high volume keywords that weren't necessarily low competition. So I had to learn that intent is a big factor when you're making content. And so in the latter articles, if you read some of the older articles, you can see that the later articles that I published are much more polished and the intent of the reader is clear.
Got it. And I think that is going to be natural, especially for a first website. Just have to get a little more honed in on the intent, who your audience is, how you're trying to communicate with them. And through that, your content is naturally going to be more polished. So you mentioned a few ways that you did drive traffic, at least initially. You said you did do some PPC. You tested out a few different things. It looks like at this point in the business, the site drives traffic almost entirely organic. But did you want to speak to that? Is it almost entirely organic, or do you drive traffic from different sources?
The traffic to the site itself is all organic. I have a Pinterest and a Facebook, but that contributes almost no meaningful traffic to the site. One thing I did want to mention is that the affiliate, there is a real estate software company that I am an affiliate of, and I run ads to a landing page on their site. So it converts very well. That's why the affiliate earnings for that particular site or for that particular affiliate are very high. And so that is one thing that I did want to mention, how I monetize the site aside from my display ads.
So it sounds like that's a relationship you have with one affiliate, which it also tells me that a buyer who decided to go that route, maybe getting back into the advertising realm and just being a little bit mindful of, I guess, profitability of running the ads to certain affiliates.
I'm not an expert in Google ads. I set up a campaign and it converts reasonably well. But if the buyer knows a lot about Google ads and is able to streamline the campaign even better than I have, then that would be a huge growth opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. So at this point, it sounds like you've done a lot of your experimentation up front and early on, and you have kind of a sense of how this business is running at this point. Can you tell me then the amount and the type of work that you do on this business to maintain it at this point?
Sure. So, given that I run a portfolio, I tend to focus on one site at a time. And so, at a minimum, I update plugins on a weekly basis and I do a check over the site to make sure there's no technical issues or anything else major that needs to be fixed. And then I would say about once a quarter, I publish 20 to 30 articles in a batch. So I'm the editor, so I will publish them, I will add images and do all the stuff that comes along with that. But aside from that, as you can see from the profit and loss, I haven't added much content. And so it was fairly passive aside from just minor updates this year.
Yeah. And you mentioned the type of content that you write is informational content that's evergreen. So if a buyer did want to, say, not have the same content production schedule or volume, that with the existing content, they would be able to still serve the audience, the traffic that comes in, even as time passes.
Correct. Once the content is out there, I found it continues to appear in searches. I will do basic updates to the content, but largely this year I was focused on my other sites and I really didn't do a ton with this website and it still just steadily earned income.
Yeah, nice. Okay. I know we've kind of skirted around some of these answers. So let's get right into the opportunities. If you were to keep the business, what are some ways that you would try to grow it?
I would just publish more info content. Like I said, it has a very strong link profile, and posts that I post start ranking within the week. If it's a lower competition keyword, I would probably expand into home services as well, reviewing companies that provide services to homeowners. And then there's a lot of opportunities to make more comprehensive guides now that the domain rating is much higher than it was 2 years ago. I think it's authoritative enough where you can start going after higher competition keywords and then also expanding into more product reviews. And there's tons of affiliates out there or I should say, companies with affiliate programs in this niche. And so I think I haven't focused enough on finding those. And I think a buyer could easily add great value by joining more affiliate programs and making content silos around each of those.
Yeah, nice. Well, of course, I know before we started this call, we talked a little bit about risks with websites or potential risks with any websites. What do you think are the biggest risks with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
Well, it kind of goes without saying, but with any website, algorithm changes are a big risk. But I think my clean link profile, along with the fact that I've done a lot to establish authority in the space, I think that hedges against that risk. The other thing would be the company that offers the affiliate program that I spoke about earlier that's a big portion of the earnings. And if they ever decided that they want to get rid of their program, that would be a risk. But I've done a lot of relationship building with them, and they've assured me that isn't the case and that they're happy to work with a new buyer in whatever I decide needs to happen on a sale.
Yeah, so continuing to, I guess, maybe focus on other affiliates could be a way of mitigating that risk, as you had mentioned previously, just looking at other affiliate options. But then, yeah, it's just speaking to the fact that you built that solid foundation up front. Like those are the sites that not just survive, but also thrive through the Google algorithm updates. So it's great to hear that this site does have such a strong link profile. Well, a few housekeeping questions to finish this up then. How much support are you willing to offer a new buyer?
I can be flexible, but I would prefer the standard 30 days of phone and email support.
Sure, sounds good. And just confirming that you commit to a non-compete on this site?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. And are you open to something like an earnout?
I would prefer a cash upfront deal, but depending on the offer, I would be open to it.
Okay, great. And putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think this is a business worth buying?
So I've never used a PBN. It has a very strong link profile, and I think it's in a huge niche with endless opportunity. And I've laid the foundation for the site, and I think someone with more skills than me could easily take it and grow it. And I just think it's just a great site.
Yeah, and my takeaways from this is that it is a great site that you've built a very strong foundation off of. And you mentioned that you don't need to spend a ton of time on it in order for it to continue operating as it is. As you had mentioned, you are also able to sustain this business while also managing the other businesses in your portfolio. Well, last question, is there anything you'd like to add that you think I might have missed during the interview?
I don't think so. I think you pretty much covered it all.
Okay. Well, I'm going to wrap this up here then. So, Andrew, thanks so much for sharing your story and joining us on today's episode. And yeah, I hope your business is purchased in the near future and by the right buyer.
Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 64880. And if you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. And once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.